On the day my daughter turned 1 month old, Jason threatened to throw her off the top floor right in front of me. Lydia, why wasn't it you who died that day? If you jump from here, I'll spare the child. It was only then that I discovered Jason had always been in love with my best friend. To save my daughter's life, I tearfully agreed to jump off the building. But just as I leaped, Jason threw our daughter down. Lydia, you and this bastard child deserve to die. Go to hell and repent to Selena. I desperately reached out to grab my daughter's clothes, but I couldn't even catch a corner of her garment. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day the cruise ship sank. Lydia, Shane has appeared. Wow, his physique is amazing, his fingers are as long as half a steering wheel. This man is totally my type. Just as I came to my senses, I heard my best friend Selena's excited voice in my ear. I was dazed for a moment before realizing that I had been reborn back to the day the cruise ship sank in my previous life. My best friend Selena was a top-tier green tea girl, a naturally gifted expert in romance. The man she set her sights on rarely escaped her grasp. After encountering Shane, the president of a partner company, at work, she was stunned by him and decisively dumped her current boyfriend to pursue Shane. Upon learning that Shane was hosting a 5-day, 4-night banquet on this cruise ship, she immediately found a way to obtain 2 admission tickets. If nothing went wrong, she would likely succeed. But an accident did occur, the cruise ship sank. Since most passengers on the ship were either wealthy or influential, the safety measures were naturally excellent, with even helicopters in the sky. Under normal circumstances, even if the ship sank, the people on board could be rescued safely. But in my previous life, Selena died. She was an expert swimmer and shouldn't have had any issues. But she was too reckless. After falling into the water, I grabbed 2 life preservers and handed her one, but she refused. Because she spotted Shane nearby. While on the cruise, she had already found an opportunity to strike up a conversation with Shane. Thus, she was certain he would come down to save her. At that point, she could openly wrap her arms around his neck and flirt unabashedly. Lydia, you go first and don't worry about me, Shane will definitely come down to save me. Selena looked completely composed. Then she threw the other life preserver far away. But she forgot, this was the open sea, not a swimming pool. When I boarded the lifeboat first, she was still waiting for Shane to come down and heroically save her. But neither of us knew that Shane was afraid of water. At that moment, the vortex caused by the sinking ship sucked Selena's body in. Only then did Selena panic and call for help, shouting loudly, "Shane, save me!" Naturally, Shane couldn't go into the water to save her. A lifeguard heard her cries and rushed toward her quickly. But she deliberately pushed him away, saying, "I don't want you to save me, I want Shane to save me." That slight push caused her to completely lose her chance of survival. The vortex fully engulfed her. By the time the lifeguard pulled her out and attempted resuscitation, it was too late. The romance expert Selena thus rested eternally in the deep sea. She was the only fatality at the accident scene. Upon learning of Selena's death, I was utterly shocked and grieved for a long time. I kept regretting not forcing her to wear that life preserver. My boyfriend Jason stayed by my side during that time, gently and attentively caring for me. He repeatedly told me, "Lydia, it's not your fault, don't blame yourself anymore." 3 years later, I gradually forgot the pain of that time and married Jason. Our married life was plain but warm, until the day our daughter turned 1 month old. That day, I merely went to prepare formula for my daughter, and she disappeared. As I panicked, I received a text message from Jason. He told me to go to the apartment's rooftop. I thought he was there sunbathing with our daughter. But when I arrived, I saw him dangling her tiny body over the edge of the terrace. She could fall and shatter at any moment. "Honey, what are you doing?" At that moment, my heart leaped into my throat. Jason sneered at me. "Lydia, why wasn't it you who died that day? If it weren't for your jealousy of Selena, snatching her life preserver, how could she have died in that accident?" I shook my head desperately. "Honey, it's not like that. She threw the life preserver away herself. I didn't kill Selena." Jason didn't believe me. Selena wasn't stupid, how could she throw away a life preserver in that situation? It was because you were jealous of her being prettier and more popular than you that you deliberately murdered her when the opportunity arose. Do you want this bastard child to live? Jump from here, and I'll spare her. Hearing Jason's words, my heart nearly shattered, my eyes fixed on the little one who didn't know what was happening and even blew a bubble. Fine, I agree. I'll jump off the building, don't hurt the baby. With that, I climbed onto the terrace. Then, reluctantly looking at my daughter, I leaned backward. But I never expected Jason to break his word. Just as my body tilted back, he gleefully threw our daughter down. Lydia, you and this bastard child deserve to die. Go to hell and repent to Selena. With bloodshot eyes, I desperately tried to grab the child. But I couldn't even touch her hem. Just before I lost consciousness falling from the building, I heard another dull thud of impact. In an instant, endless hatred surged in my heart. At this moment, the tourists were already preparing to board the ship. Selena lightly flicked her wavy curls and was about to head over. Seeing this, I immediately picked up my phone and said, Selena, wait, the signal is poor at sea. Let me call Jason. Selena's eyes flickered slightly upon hearing this, and she nodded. Her expression toward me carried a hint of unnaturalness. I immediately realized that in my previous life, at this time, Selena and Jason might have already hooked up. But this was normal, after all, from childhood to adulthood, whenever a boy spoke a few more words to me, it wasn't long before they all revolved around Selena. To say I was jealous, yes, I had been. But toward Selena, I felt more gratitude. Because when I was young, my mother was seriously ill, and it was Selena who begged her mother to lend money to my family, saving my mother's life. I wasn't an ungrateful wretch, so over the years, even knowing I was just a foil beside Selena, I didn't mind. Without Selena, I would have been an orphan long ago. I always remembered that she saved my mother's life. As for Jason, when I first introduced him to Selena, I was very nervous, worrying if he would fall for her like other boys. But Jason behaved with great propriety, and afterward, he even said he didn't like Selena's type, girls who dressed too elaborately, and that he loved my gentle, virtuous wife type, telling me not to overthink. I fully believed I had found my true partner. But I had no idea he was being duplicitous. Unbeknownst to me, he had long harbored deep feelings for Selena. Sneering inwardly, I called Jason. Jason, something came up suddenly, and I need to rush back to the company. Selena has 2 tickets, it would be a pity not to go. Why don't you go with her? I said to Jason. Jason agreed without hesitation. Sure, I just finished my work. Where are you? I'll come right over. My expression was slightly mocking. Finished? If I remembered correctly, at this time, Jason had an important project to handle. In my previous life, it was because of this project that he was promoted to general manager. But this time, upon hearing he could spend 5 days and 4 nights alone with Selena, he claimed his work was done. Heh. So this is what he meant by not liking overly elaborate girls like Selena? Now he's forgetting to avoid suspicion? Men are indeed all duplicitous. After hanging up, I apologetically said to Selena, Selena, I'm sorry, something urgent came up at work, and I can't go on vacation with you. But don't worry, Jason happens to be free, and I've already called him to accompany you. Upon hearing this, Selena looked at me with surprise in her eyes. Then, with a playful tone, she said, letting your boyfriend go with me? Aren't you worried? I smiled lightly at her, what are you talking about? He doesn't like overly beautiful girls like you, I'm very confident in him. Besides, even rabbits don't eat the grass near their burrows. I said with some pride. Selena raised her eyebrows upon hearing this, are there men who don't like beautiful girls? TSK. His words, only a little fool like you would believe them. But in her eyes, there was clearly an added touch of mocking disdain. Actually, I knew that a guy like Jason, who was reasonably handsome, no longer caught Selena's eye. After all, every boyfriend she dated excelled in both looks and wealth. handsome to suit her taste, wealthy to satisfy her material desires. For me, Jason was quite a good match. But for Selena, who had seen it all, he was probably just average. Selena's expression was slightly mocking, probably because she had already hooked up with Jason and disdained his duplicitous words. Tugging at my lips, I waved to Selena and turned away in a hurried manner. I didn't leave immediately. Instead, I found a hidden spot to wait for Jason. In less than half an hour, Jason arrived. Upon seeing Selena, his usually composed face revealed a gentle smile. Selena. Jason stepped forward quickly, initiatively trying to hold Selena's hand as if they were a couple. Selena shook off his hand and asked something. Jason then coaxed her apologetically. I guessed Selena was asking if he really didn't like beautiful girls. Soon, Jason wrapped his arm around Selena's slender waist, and they left like a perfect couple. At that moment, a sea breeze blew over. Smelling the damp, salty air, I mockingly curled my lips while looking toward the cruise ship. Selena's target was Shane. I wondered what Jason would think seeing the woman he loved hook up with another man right in front of him. An hour later, the cruise ship departed. I indifferently watched its receding silhouette, then turned home and slept. The next morning at 5, the cruise ship indeed sank, just as in my previous life. Fortunately, it happened at dawn, making rescue efforts less difficult. This was why, in my previous life, everyone except the self-destructive Selena was quickly rescued. If it had been at night, the rescue might not have gone so smoothly. After news of the cruise ship accident arrived, I rushed to the dock immediately. Every time a lifeboat approached, I anxiously dashed forward. After checking 5 or 6 lifeboats in a row without spotting Selena or Jason, I wondered inwardly. Then another lifeboat arrived. I rushed forward and soon saw Selena and Jason huddled together. Selena, Jason, are you okay? I was scared to death hearing about the cruise ship accident. Thank goodness you're both fine, I said to them with a tearful voice. Looking up, I saw Jason giving me a look full of disgust. That expression was identical to the one when he forced me to jump using our daughter. But when he looked down at Selena, it was filled with the joy of regaining something lost. I immediately realized Jason had been reborn too. Knowing this, I couldn't help but think inwardly, perfect. If Jason knew nothing of the past, what meaning would my revenge have? I wanted him to live this life burdened with the guilt of killing his own daughter with his own hands, wishing he were dead. Lydia, seeing Selena safe, you're disappointed, aren't you? Jason said coldly to me. I pretended to be confused, looking at him. Jason, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm thrilled Selena is fine, how could I be disappointed? My face was full of confusion, doubt, and the grievance of being wronged. Jason snorted coldly, good thing I went with Selena this time, or she would have been killed by you. I looked at him helplessly. Jason, I don't understand what you're saying. Enough. I don't want to hear a vicious woman like you speak, we're breaking up. Seeing you now makes me sick. Jason said disdainfully, not even bothering to pretend anymore. He then eagerly picked up Selena and hurried toward the ambulance. Selena looked at me anxiously. Lydia, I'm sorry, I don't know why he suddenly became like this. Jason said to her, Selena, what do you have to say to a vicious woman like Lydia? She's always been jealous of you, don't be deceived by her innocent appearance. Selena exclaimed delicately, how could that be? Lydia is my best friend. You're just too pure and kind, thinking too well of everyone. Jason's eyes were full of indulgent tenderness. I stood there stunned, watching their departing backs. Suddenly, Selena turned back and slightly curled her lips in a smile, seeming somewhat smug. Then she weakly nestled in Jason's arms. Speaking of this experience, Selena was indeed frightened afterward. Previously, to hook up with a handsome swimmer, she had deliberately learned swimming and had some confidence in her skills. So when she fell into the water, though she panicked briefly, she quickly calmed down. Moreover, she had successfully met Shane the night before, so upon seeing him nearby, she immediately pushed the life preserver away and shouted Shane's name for help. But unexpectedly, Shane ignored her and sent a lifeguard instead. Unexpectedly, at that moment, a vortex suddenly appeared around her, sucking her into the water. As seawater flooded her mouth and nose, she truly panicked and struggled desperately. It was then that Jason rushed over and saved her recklessly. When he pulled her up, his red eyes showed relief, as if he had regained a lost treasure. It was at that moment she became interested in Jason. A man willing to risk his life for her was far rarer than one willing to spend money on her. "So, Lydia, sorry, your boyfriend is mine now." To avoid arousing Jason's suspicion, after being stunned, I quickly ran over to them. "Jason, why are you breaking up with me out of nowhere?" I looked at him pitifully. Jason looked at me impatiently. "Lydia, please get lost. The one I've always loved is Selena." I immediately shook my head tearfully. "Impossible. Didn't you say you didn't like Selena?" Jason mocked me. "Look at yourself, what about you compares to Selena?" "I only said that to spare your self-esteem. Standing next to Selena, any man would know whom to choose. If I were you, I'd have felt ashamed long ago. How dare you be friends with such a beautiful girl like Selena?" I looked at him with a stricken expression. Then I pleadingly turned to Selena. "Selena, you don't like him, right?" Upon hearing this, Jason glared at me angrily. "Lydia, and you say you're not vicious, you know Selena is kind-hearted and wouldn't say anything to hurt you. You're deliberately trying to morally blackmail her." I just stared fixedly at Selena. After a moment, Selena looked at me helplessly, seemingly apologetic, but her eyes were full of triumph. "I'm sorry, Lydia, I didn't expect Jason to love me to the point of risking his life to save me. He's different from the boys I've dated before. I've only now seen my true feelings." Jason's face lit up with ecstasy upon hearing this. I looked at her in disbelief, stepping back a few paces. But in retreating, I accidentally bumped into someone. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." I quickly turned back tearfully to apologize. Looking up, I met a stern face. It was Shane. With such a major incident on the cruise ship, as the organizer, he naturally had to appear to calm the passengers. "It's fine." Shane's long hand steadily supported my arm. After his appearance, Selena's attention clearly shifted entirely to Shane. At that moment, Selena looked at Shane with affectionate eyes, somewhat wanting to get down from Jason's hold. Obviously, if she had known Shane would come, she wouldn't have said those words earlier. "Shane, you're here?" But Shane merely glanced at Selena indifferently, then instructed his secretary to quickly send all injured passengers to the hospital. I didn't linger any longer. After a heartbroken glance back at the two, I wiped my tears and decisively left. Bah. Even if Jason didn't break up today, I would find a reason to end it with him sooner or later. Selena loved proving her charm by conquering men. If she really got together with Jason, she might not stop her romantic pursuits. I wanted to see how many times Jason's affection could withstand Selena's squandering. That evening, Selena hypocritically called me to apologize. I replied indifferently, "Selena, I'm very grateful for you saving my mom back then, but over these years, I've served you devotedly, which is enough to repay your kindness. I wish you and Jason a long-lasting relationship. From now on, we're no longer friends." With that, I hung up and blocked both their numbers. I wish you two a match made in heaven, like a whore and a dog. Quickly composing myself, I opened my computer to write my resignation letter and contacted the headhunter who had reached out a few days ago. Jason and I worked at the same company but in different departments. In my previous life, after Selena's accident, I was devastated and gave up my career. But I was a top graduate from Huaching University, and headhunters often approached me to poach me. The salary levels were more than 3 times my current one. But back then, wanting to commute with Jason, I refused. This time I wouldn't give up my job for anyone. The headhunter quickly contacted me and sent the recruiting company's information. But I didn't expect it to be the Shin Group, the company where Shane worked. When Selena first set her sights on Shane, she had considered working at Shin Group to increase chance encounters with him. But Shin Group's hiring threshold was too high. Selena was beautiful, but in high school, she was busy dating, so she only got into a third-tier university. She submitted her resume but didn't even pass the initial screening. Even for a front desk position at Shin Group. Nowadays, there are many girls who are both beautiful and highly educated. Selena was indeed beautiful with high emotional intelligence, but HR first looks at education. Until the day I completed my resignation procedures, Jason hadn't returned to work. Some of his colleagues knew about our relationship and asked me where Jason was when they saw me. I merely replied indifferently, "Sorry, Jason and I have broken up, I don't know where he is now." Then I left with my small cardboard box. A week later, I joined Shin Group headquarters as an executive assistant to the president, responsible for assisting Shane in organizing and analyzing various data and collecting market information. Upon seeing me, Shane was slightly surprised. "It's you?" I nodded lightly to him. "Hello, Shane, I'm the new assistant, Lydia." Shane nodded slightly to me. The other secretaries and presidential assistants also came over to greet me. Afterward, everyone started working formally. Processing data was a tedious job, but for me, it felt relaxing. After a busy morning, I hadn't thought of Selena or Jason at all, until the special assistant to the president tapped my desk, bringing me back to reality. It was time for lunch. A few days later, I had fully adapted to Shin Group's high-paced work. That day after work, as soon as I got home, I saw Jason standing at my door. Upon seeing me return, Jason's face darkened. "You resigned?" I looked at him strangely and said coldly, "What else? You do have some self-awareness. Lydia, Selena is still willing to be friends with you, that's your luck, yet you dared to block her and make her sad." Jason looked at me disdainfully. "If it weren't for Selena, I wouldn't have come to see you." I couldn't help but sneer. "You came today just to say this nonsense? You were the one who said you didn't like Selena before, and now you're the one suddenly breaking up with me. I don't even know when you two hooked up. And now you have the nerve to question me for blocking you?" Jason's face darkened upon hearing my words. "Lydia, stop maliciously slandering Selena here. Selena kept her distance from me for your sake. It was I who couldn't control my feelings for her. Selena is innocent. I broke up with you only because I saw through your venomous nature. You've long been jealous of Selena being more beautiful and popular than you. This time, if not for me, Selena would probably have been killed by you when she fell into the water." "Me, venomous? Bah. Even tigers don't eat their cubs, but you, Jason, threw your own daughter off the top floor. Who exactly is the venomous one? Jason, don't forget, when you and Selena were hugging, we hadn't broken up yet. No matter how eloquently you speak, it can't change the fact that you two betrayed me. I don't want to see you anymore, get out of my doorway now." I looked at Jason coldly. In my heart, I wished I could devour him alive. But I restrained my hatred, not letting Jason see that I had been reborn too. Seeing me say this, Jason's eyes grew even colder. "If Selena wasn't worried about you and asked me to check, do you think I'd come? You vicious woman, you don't deserve Selena's concern." With that, Jason snorted coldly and left. I found it laughable. Selena worried about me? Probably she deliberately sent Jason to provoke me, to make me feel worse. Unfortunately, she was doomed to be disappointed. If it were the me from my previous life, I would have been heartbroken and become even more insecure. But in this life, I wouldn't. Selena might be great, but I'm definitely not bad either. She is prettier than me and better at flirting with men. But I have a higher education, and now a good career. So why should I envy or be jealous of Selena? As I became familiar with the job, my speed in processing data increased. The other presidential assistants gradually respected me. Shane relied on me more and more. That day, Shane was going out to discuss a collaboration. When I delivered the materials, he said to me, "Assistant Lydia, come with me to Penton later to discuss a collaboration." Hearing this, I was slightly surprised but quickly nodded. Penton was the company where Selena worked. I knew that if Selena hadn't given up on Shane, she would definitely appear before him. My guess was correct. While Shane was discussing the collaboration with Penton's boss, Selena entered smilingly with tea. But upon seeing me, her expression paused, then she proceeded normally to pour the tea. After preparing it, Selena tactfully exited. She was good at flirting with men, but she always had great propriety and wouldn't annoy people in such formal settings, affecting the company's collaboration. However, before leaving, she gave me a slightly cold glance. After signing the contract, I followed Shane out of the Penton building. Soon, I received a text from Selena. "Lydia, even if you're angry at me, you don't need to spitefully snatch Shane, he's not someone you deserve to covet." Seeing Selena's message, I deleted it with a cold smile. Why didn't I deserve to covet Shane? As if all the good men in the world were only for Selena? Of course, I knew Shane and I were worlds apart. But just because of Selena's words, I wouldn't let her have a chance with Shane. Half a year later, I had firmly established myself at Shin Group headquarters. Because of my sensitivity to data, quick reactions, and proficiency in several languages, Shane often took me to various banquets as his female companion. At such times, I was especially grateful for my past self who studied so diligently. If I hadn't learned seriously and mastered so much knowledge and skills, how could I have the opportunity to stand beside someone like Shane now? Moreover, my colleagues were all excellent. Working with them made me recognize my own value even more. Selena's high emotional intelligence and romantic skills were her strengths, but my strong work abilities were mine. Soon, it was time for Shin Group's annual meeting. With a six-figure year-end bonus, I was in a great mood and couldn't resist drinking a couple more glasses. Then, Shane's special assistant suddenly whispered to me, "Lydia, send Shane back to the presidential suite upstairs later. I have something to handle and need to leave first." I was stunned for a moment, then nodded, "Okay, got it." Then I set down my glass and went to find Shane. Shane had been plied with quite a bit of alcohol that day, though his face looked fine, his ears were red. "Shane, let me escort you upstairs to rest." The annual meeting was held at a hotel owned by Shin Group, with a presidential suite reserved especially for Shane. Shane nodded but staggered when standing up. I quickly steadied him, and we entered the elevator from the banquet hall. Once inside, Shane suddenly stared at me and said, "Your boyfriend cheated on you?" Hearing this, I was taken aback, then lightly hummed an affirmation. "Then his taste is poor," Shane said. I looked at him in astonishment, then realized he was criticizing Jason. So I couldn't help but curl my lips and say, "I think so too." While speaking, the elevator arrived. I supported Shane to the presidential suite door, swiped the card to enter. When I helped him to the bedside, the alcohol hit me, and I felt dizzy too. Shane staggered then, pulling me down with him. I fell onto him. Looking up, I saw his sharp jawline. "Shane." I hurriedly tried to get up. But Shane's hand suddenly landed on my lower back. Our eyes met, and the atmosphere in the air gradually shifted. Thinking of Selena's coveting of Shane, I felt a surge of boldness from resentment. The next day when I woke, my head was foggy. "Awake?" Shane's voice sounded in my ear. I stiffly turned my head and gave him an awkward smile. "Shane, last night was just an accident. Don't worry, I promise I won't use this to cling to you. Let's pretend nothing happened." "I'm doomed." Shane must suspect I deliberately took advantage of him while drunk to climb up. Sure enough, Shane's expression was ugly. "Lydia, you actually don't want to take responsibility." "I didn't expect you to be this kind of person," Shane said through gritted teeth. "It was your first time, wasn't it mine too?" My expression froze. Huh? This wasn't what I expected. Shouldn't he call me a scheming woman and tell me to get out? "Sorry, Shane, if you don't mind, I'll definitely take responsibility." Shane's expression improved a bit. "Humph, at least you have some conscience," Shane hummed lightly. I couldn't help twitching my mouth. Then, under Shane's disdainful gaze, I hurried forward like a little eunuch, attending to him obsequiously with an exceptionally flattering smile. I never dreamed I could become Shane's girlfriend. I thought I'd be fired upon waking. Unexpectedly, Shane frowned at me then. "Enough, being my girlfriend doesn't require you to do these little things." I was stunned, then nodded. Because I had cared for Selena since childhood, and Jason said he liked virtuous wife types. Over the years, I had grown accustomed to taking care of others. I didn't expect Shane, who should be used to being cared for, to dislike this. Then, should we keep our relationship secret? I asked cautiously. After all, I had some self-awareness. For a man of Shane's level, even if he was willing to date me, the Shin family would absolutely not allow an ordinary background girl like me to enter. My being able to date him now was thanks to his strong sense of responsibility. Shane looked displeased upon hearing this. Why hide it? Do I embarrass you that much? Shane stared at me intently. I gaped at him, then shook my head frantically. No, Shane, that's not what I meant. You're still calling me Shane? Cough, Shane, I mean, dating you is me climbing high. Isn't it that I feel I don't deserve you, afraid that if it gets out, people will mock your poor taste? I hurriedly explained. If I were a great beauty like Selena, I'd definitely be confident standing beside Shane. But I was indeed just a decent-looking girl next door, not a stunning beauty. Whether you deserve me or not is for me to decide. What do others matter? You're great, what don't you deserve? Shane's expression was surprisingly serious. I stared at him blankly. I didn't expect Shane to think this way. For a moment, my eyes reddened slightly. Thank you. I didn't expect to receive such affirmation from Shane. I'm speaking the truth, what's there to think? All right, tidy up and prepare to go down for breakfast, Shane said then. I nodded chokingly. Looking up, I saw Shane gazing deeply at me. I subconsciously avoided his gaze and hurried to the bathroom. Shane and I got together like that. He indeed had no intention of a secret romance, so the other assistants quickly noticed our relationship. Upon learning, the special assistant secretly gave me a thumbs up. I smiled somewhat embarrassedly. Honestly, I really couldn't figure out why Shane was willing to be with me. In modern society, relationships between men and women are no longer as conservative as in the past. Cases of people walking away irresponsibly after a one-night stand are plentiful. I didn't expect Shane to want to be with me just because we had one encounter. But I quickly told myself not to neglect work just because I became Shane's girlfriend. If Shane's parents knew we were together, who knows how they'd obstruct us. The chance of breaking up then would be high. But work abilities would never leave me, they're far more reliable than men. The assistants admired how, after getting with Shane, I was even more diligent than before. Actually, I just never thought Shane and I could last long term. But Shane took this relationship more seriously than I did. On Saturday, he even took the initiative to take me on a date. But I didn't expect we'd run into Jason and Selena at the restaurant. When Selena saw Shane and me enter hand in hand, her eyes widened, her face full of disbelief. She seemed unable to imagine I'd have a chance with a high-quality man like Shane. Jason's expression was also ugly upon seeing me with Shane. I merely glanced indifferently at them. Midway to the restroom, as expected, Selena blocked me. Lydia, I didn't expect you to be so capable, hooking even a man like Shane. But soon, Selena narrowed her eyes, full of fighting spirit. But do you think, with just you, how many days can you keep Shane? My heart sank. Shane was originally Selena's target, now seeing me with him, she'd only become more obsessed. No matter how many days, at least I'd been with Shane. I looked at Selena coldly. Just as I finished, Selena suddenly looked aggrieved. Lydia, I'm just kindly advising you, how could a man like Shane truly be with you? He's just playing with you. Seeing her like this, I knew Jason must have come. Sure enough, the next moment, Jason strode over, looking at me coldly and disdainfully. Lydia, I knew you were extremely vicious, whatever schemes you have, direct them at me. Bullying Selena, what skill is that? I looked at Jason with disgust. Jason, please control your girlfriend, stop her from seducing others' boyfriends. You think Selena is like you? Just broke up with me and immediately got with your boss. An ordinary loser woman like you, if not for scheming and calculating, how could he be with you? Jason said coldly. I couldn't help clenching my fists. Before I could retort, Shane's voice came from behind, "Not as good as you hooking up with Lydia's best friend before even breaking up. Also, Lydia is excellent, I pursued her initiatively to be with her." Shane stepped forward and embraced my shoulders. Selena and Jason's expressions changed simultaneously. My heart ached, feeling like crying. Whether Shane's words were sincere or not, he had protected my dignity. "Let's go, Lydia. If you talk more nonsense with your ex, I'll get jealous." Shane smiled gently at me. I nodded embarrassedly with a red face. Before leaving, I saw Selena's eyes red with jealousy. Indeed, from childhood, almost everyone around us chose Selena first. Today was the first time she was the one not noticed by a man. How could Selena tolerate that? I knew she wouldn't let it go easily. But it didn't matter. At least, I wouldn't compete with Selena in emotions anymore. With Shane, if we could be together, fine, if not, we'd part amicably. I wouldn't foolishly love a man wholeheartedly like in my previous life, getting hurt to the point of losing my life. Back at the restaurant, I looked seriously at Shane. "Shane, thank you for defending me earlier." Shane looked deeply at me. "Isn't that what a boyfriend should do? But your taste in friends is really poor." Hearing his words, I couldn't help but smile bitterly. Yes. I didn't expect my taste to be so bad, falling for a devil who would kill his own daughter. As expected, next, Selena began finding ways to encounter Shane. Selena was the type of woman full of femininity, with gentle and pleasant speech, and high emotional intelligence, so men who contacted her basically all fell under her spell. Even after breaking up, her ex-boyfriends not only didn't blame her but defended her. I thought Shane would eventually be attracted by Selena's charm like other men. But unexpectedly, Shane ran away immediately upon seeing Selena's figure. "Is she sticky candy? How is she everywhere?" Shane said to me, very annoyed. I couldn't help but slightly curl my lips. "Doesn't this show your great charm? A beauty chasing you and you're not happy?" Shane immediately glared at me. "Do I need beauties pursuing me to prove my charm? Also, do you secretly hope she chases me? Are you laughing at me inwardly?" I hurriedly shook my head desperately. "No, no, how dare I?" "Humph, I think you're very daring." Shane suddenly leaned close to my face. I shrank back in fright, ending up pressed against the car seat. "Tonight, come to my place?" Shane's voice suddenly grew hoarse. I was stunned, then nodded somewhat embarrassedly. I didn't know how long I could be with Shane, but I had to admit, every day with him was happy. Until 2 months later, waking in the morning, I suddenly felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. Thinking of that time in the hotel when I forgot to take the pill after waking, I couldn't help touching my belly. After work, I went to the pharmacy. Seeing 2 lines, I couldn't help staring blankly. In my mind, I couldn't stop thinking of my tragically dead daughter. Hatred surged again. Then I picked up my phone and called, using a voice changer. "Hey, how's the progress?" "Don't worry, this girl is easy to hook, I'll get her to bed tonight." "Don't forget the final payment." "No problem." I curled my lips coldly. 2 months had passed. With Selena's patience, she was probably tired of Jason by now. Jason thought Selena was a goddess? Well, let's see. I still told Shane about the pregnancy. "I want to keep this child, don't worry, I'm not threatening you to marry. If your family doesn't want it, I can raise it myself." I knew this child wasn't my daughter from the previous life. But I couldn't bear to let go. Shane joyfully picked me up and spun me around. "What are you thinking? Of course we must marry. Our child can't be called illegitimate." I looked at him blankly. "But will your family agree to our marriage?" Shane gently scraped my nose. "Of course. They knew about you long ago." I was blank again. "Ah? They don't object?" Shane laughed. "Object to what?" "My parents knew long ago that I like you." You like me?" Shane nodded, smiling at my shocked look. "Of course. Why?" I looked at him incredulously. You might not remember, but we've met before. 10 years ago, I ran away from home in anger with my parents, saying I'd beg on the streets rather than return. My mom said no one would give me alms if I begged. Later we bet, if I could beg 500 yuan, I'd return. So I really wandered the streets for days, even making a sign like others, lend me 500 for travel home. But no one lent me 500, even 1 or 5 yuan was rare. Just when I thought I couldn't return, 2 girls appeared before me. One looked down on me and walked away disgusted, but the other really gave me 500 yuan. Hearing Shane's description, I widened my eyes in shock. That beggar was you? At that time, I had just gotten first place in finals and 1,000 yuan bonus. The boy's eyes were so desolate and desperate, wiping tears constantly, I softened and, ignoring Selena's dissuasion, gave him 500. What if he really couldn't go home due to lack of money? After all, I had faced similar hardships. But who knew he was the Shin family's young master, Shane? Fate really plays jokes. Shane suddenly hugged me tightly, so when I saw you on the cruise ship accident day, you don't know how excited I was. From the moment you gave me 500, I swore I'd marry you when I grew up. But later, I never met you there again. Good thing we met now. Hearing this, I couldn't help explaining. Later, I was poached by another school and never went to that street again. I see, Shane nodded. Then he added, so rest assured, my parents knew long ago I wanted to marry you, they won't object. I finally sighed in relief. Soon, Shane took me to meet his parents. Indeed, they liked me a lot and teased Shane about begging himself a wife back then. Because I was pregnant, to complete the wedding before I showed, the date was set quickly. Afterward, Shane and I got busy. While we were hectic with wedding preparations, Jason was stalking Selena and discovered her in bed with another man. Selena, what are you doing? Did he force you? Huh? Jason stared fixedly at Selena, his eyes obsessive. He couldn't accept his beloved goddess betraying him. Selena looked at Jason indifferently, arms crossed. Jason, since you found out, let's break up. Why break up? I don't agree. For Selena, he had sacrificed Lydia and his own daughter's lives. How could she betray him? Your disagreement doesn't matter, I don't like you anymore, Selena said indifferently. Hearing this, Jason panicked. No, Selena, just pretend I saw nothing, let's not break up, okay? I won't accept breaking up, I love you. Selena frowned, then said, whatever, now, please leave. Jason could only glare hatefully at the man inside and leave dejectedly. Selena thought their breakup was inevitable. But she had no idea what Jason had sacrificed for her. How could he accept her betrayal? So when Selena woke again, she was locked in a room by Jason. Selena finally felt fear. Jason, are you crazy? This is illegal. Selena said sternly. But Jason didn't care. Selena, there are too many bad men outside, you're only safe here. I saved your life, you can only belong to me. Jason smiled gently, stepping forward to caress Selena's face. Selena felt chills. She didn't expect Jason to be a yandere. Selena, give me a child? With a child, you won't leave me. Jason said smiling. Selena struggled frantically, but to no avail. At this moment, she finally regretted provoking Jason. But it was too late. 3 months later, Shane and I held our wedding. At the same time, because Selena went missing, her ex-boyfriends reported it, leading to Jason. When Selena was found, she had been abused by Jason to skin and bones. She was then sent to the hospital for checks. Results showed Selena was not only pregnant but had contracted a virus. Upon learning she had the disease, Selena screamed and raged madly in the ward. She couldn't accept it. Jason, having been with her so long, naturally hadn't escaped it. Upon learning he had the virus, Jason was agitated to near madness. Selena, you rotten woman. I'll kill you. At this moment, Jason finally fully believed what I had said before. He loved Selena, but he loved himself more. But he never expected Selena to have the disease and infect him. Endless regret began corroding Jason's heart day and night. He should have woken up the moment he discovered Selena's betrayal. But now, it was too late for regrets. Upon hearing of Selena and Jason's mad behaviors, I merely curled my lips slightly. Then I gently stroked my growing belly. Baby, in this life, you'll have parents who adore you. Will treasure you like a jewel and protect you for life.